stand by. Come on! Birkin injected himself with the G-Virus. There's nothing you can do! Get out of here and make a full report to management! What about you, sir? I lost the sample. I'm going back for it.
In a franchise teeming with iconic heroes, terrifying monsters, and gripping narratives, few characters maintain the level of mystique that Hunk does. A man without a name, without backstory, and mostly without a face. He's a character shrouded in mystery, yet instantly recognizable, iconic, and far from forgettable. A man whose code, professionalism, and ability to outlive everyone who embarks on missions with him to the point that he always lives to tell the tale, making him feel almost immortal, have earned him the nicknames Grim Reaper and Mr. Death. Let's explore why Hunk remains one of the most enduring enigmas of Resident Evil by diving deep into three key aspects. The longevity of his mystery, his potential inner conflict between survivor's guilt and indifference, and his unparalleled professionalism that borders on obsession, all through the lens of his notable appearances and history in the series. Hunk first appeared in Resident Evil 2 as part of Umbrella's USS Alpha team. Tasked with recovering the G-Virus from William Birkin, his mission, a disaster for the rest of his team, cemented his reputation as the Grim Reaper, the lone survivor in situations where death was virtually guaranteed. A status and moniker he earned after several successful missions prior to RE2 where only he made it out alive. Missions he took on after 2 years of intense training at Rockford Island. This is the only bit of backstory we have on him, which only adds to his enigmatic presence. His appearance in RE2 defined him as a figure of both mystery and competence. Unlike characters like Leon or Claire, whose motivations are deeply explored, Hunk is a man of few words, always following orders to the letter without any personal flair or backstory, even berating those that don't follow his example, like when Birkin, who they were supposed to take alive, is terminated by a fellow USS member with an itchy trigger finger. From the very beginning, Hunk has always been presented as an elusive figure. Unlike pretty much every other character in the series, we don't know his backstory, his motivations, or even his real name. His mission in Resident Evil 2 is significant because it perfectly encapsulates Hunk's enigma. We see a brutal professional who, while we never get to know him on a personal level, continues to survive against impossible odds. His brief playable campaign, The Fourth Survivor, fittingly named to denote his status as the fourth known person to survive the fall of Raccoon City after Leon, Claire, and Sherry, not only adds to his mystique, but also reinforces his role as the ultimate survivor. A man who can walk out of the deadliest scenarios imaginable unscathed. I think that the text displayed in the loading screen for The Fourth Survivor sums it up perfectly. His own comrades know that even if they all die, he will always come back. which is why he is the Grim Reaper, a nickname they laughed off as a bad joke. And yet, he did end up being the last man standing, a man used to the stench of death, to the smell of his fallen teammates, a man known only by his code name, Hunk. Honestly, I think it's impossible to read this passage and not get chills. That's just how brutally powerful the legend of Hunk is. Wherever he goes, death follows. Everyone clearly knows this, but they go with him anyways, almost banking on the fact that even if they don't make it, he will. And his survival ensures that they carry on as well. Their deaths feed him, they embolden him, so that he can keep going. Their souls power the undying, ruthless, and calculating machine. The name Grim Reaper truly fits him like a glove. Now his interactions, or rather lack of them, with other main characters leave us with more questions than answers. Who is Hunk when he isn't on a mission? What drives him to keep coming back when everyone around him dies? These questions are never addressed, which only deepens his mystery. What keeps players, us, so fascinated by him is precisely this ambiguity. Capcom has only given us glimpses. He's the lone survivor of several impossible missions, always coming out on top regardless of the odds. But why? The sheer number of missions he survived, especially those that should have been suicide runs, almost makes you question whether Hunk is just incredibly lucky or if there's something more at play, something almost supernatural. His ability to escape death so many times has seemingly given him a near mythical status. Death can never catch him. His lack of a clear moral compass combined with his proficiency in carrying out orders without hesitation contributes to the mystery. Unlike other characters who fight for justice or revenge, Hunk operates under a different code. His loyalty lies with whoever's paying, namely Umbrella. This cold detachment, this singular focus on completing his missions is why Hunk remains such an enigma even decades after his debut. His role in Code Veronica subtly builds upon this enigma. Tasked with delivering a mysterious container from Umbrella's transport terminal in the Antarctic to Rockford Island, Hunk found himself in a controversial situation. Alfred Ashford, the island's commander, refused to disclose what was inside the crate, leaving Hunk and his unit unprepared for any potential hazards. This situation posed a rare moment of potential vulnerability for Hunk. His concern was solely professional, focused on security risks and mission protocols. Even when faced with uncertainty, Hunk's primary concern was ensuring that the job was done correctly, not uncovering the truth behind the mystery. Basically, he never asked questions he wasn't paid to ask. The perfect employee for such a shadowy company. This mission added another layer to Hunk's already established persona. Someone whose dedication to the mission overshadows any curiosity or personal involvement. The enigma deepens. Was he truly indifferent to what might have been in that crate? Or does his emotional detachment allow him to perform in situations that could rattle even the most hardened of Umbrella's operatives? Then we come to an intriguing psychological aspect of Hunk's character. He has always emerged as the lone survivor, the last man standing when everyone else falls, consistently surviving when so many others around him don't. What does this mean for him mentally? Is there a hidden survivor's guilt eating away at him beneath the surface for outliving his teams? After all, surviving at the expense of others is something that weighs heavily on most people. Look no further than Chris Redfield and the tragedy that is his life. Yet we don't see any remorse or introspection from Hunk. Unlike most other characters who do reflect on the cost of survival. Could it be that he is indifferent, emotionally detached, so hardened by the constant death around him that he's become emotionally numb? Or is it his methodical, unyielding adherence to duty, to professionalism, that protects him from these feelings, from survivor's guilt? Or perhaps there's something more psychological at play that we're not aware of? The Umbrella Chronicles and the Darkside Chronicles further highlight his indifference or perhaps emotional numbness in the face of constant death. In the reimagined and retold scenario of the Resident Evil 2 timeline, we once again see him executing his orders without hesitation, even when faced with overwhelming threats. His calm demeanor in the face of death stands in stark contrast to other characters' reactions. Where most would be shaken or conflicted by the loss of their comrades, Hunk simply moves on. But does this reflect true indifference? Is Hunk so uncaring or so deeply compartmentalized that emotions don't matter? One key moment that beautifully, or rather grimly, underscores this clinical lack of emotion can be found during the Raccoon City incident. A moment where his disregard for his comrades reached a chilling peak. One of his fellow USS members, Goblin 6, was critically injured, unable to move her legs but still able to broadcast her pleas for help over the radio. Hunk overheard her cries but coldly declared, "This is a war. Survival is your responsibility." And he refused to assist her. This moment underscores his ruthless prioritization of the mission over personal connections or empathy. For Hunk, survival was a personal duty, one he could fulfill but only for himself. However, despite his cold detachment and unwillingness to help his teammate Goblin 6, Hunk has shown brief flashes of selflessness. About a week after Alpha Team's confrontation with William Birkin, Hunk found himself caught off, with the situation looking dire. Despite the total barricade of the Raccoon City police station's front door, a run-in with the T-00 Tyrant and the increasing threat of infected all around, Hunk encouraged his pilot Nighthawk to leave without him. A rare moment of self-sacrifice in what was perhaps one of the few instances in lore where Hunk prioritized someone else's safety over his own. This act stands as an anomaly in his otherwise mission-focused behavior, adding an interesting dichotomy, a duality that only elevates his character. Despite Nighthawk's apparent decision to leave, he ultimately came back, allowing Hunk to once again cheat death, cementing his unrelenting drive for survival in the face of even the most grueling of nightmares. Though, let's be honest, even if Nighthawk had forsaken him as requested, Hunk, given his reputation, would have very likely found a way to survive being blown up with the entire city. One of the most fascinating things about Hunk is that we're never given any definitive answers. His poker-faced demeanor, or rather the fact that he almost always hides his face behind his iconic gas mask, doesn't betray any inner turmoil. But there's always the possibility that behind the said mask, he's grappling with something deeper. Could his ability to distance himself from emotions be a survival mechanism, or does he simply not care? This gray area makes him all the more compelling. Unlike characters like Leon who wear their struggles on their sleeves, Hunk's silence leaves us to fill in the gaps, giving players room to project their interpretations onto him. If there's one thing we know for certain about Hunk, is that he's the embodiment of professionalism. His laser-like focus on completing missions, no matter the cost, is what truly defines him in every appearance he makes. From Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, he never wavers. Whether recovering viral samples or neutralizing threats to Umbrella's interests, his cold efficiency makes him one of the most dangerous operatives in the series. In Operation Raccoon City, we see him mentoring a new batch of USS operatives, once again showing his dedication to the mission. His work etiquette is not just for himself, but also what he instills in others. There are no distractions, no emotional entanglements, and absolutely no hesitation. He operates like a machine. Even when the situation around them spirals out of control, Hunk remains calm, collected, and efficient. But is this professionalism a double-edged sword? One could argue that his obsessive dedication to the mission and his rigid adherence to protocol are both his strength and his weakness. On the one hand, it's allowed him to survive in the most extreme conditions. On the other, it distances him from any sort of moral consideration. To Hunk, the mission is all that matters, and this cold efficiency is both terrifying and admirable. This hyper-professionalism is why he survived so long. But it's also why he remains an enigma. We never get to see what's behind the mask. Perhaps there's nothing behind it at all. Just a man who's become so absorbed in his role that it's consumed his identity. He's a lone wolf, never forming connections, always focused on the next task. His appearances across the series don't show growth or change. He remains the same Grim Reaper from Resident Evil 2, suggesting that his professionalism is all-encompassing, consuming any sense of humanity he might have had once upon a time. Hunk's continued presence or absence in the franchise only adds to his incredible mythos. His appearances in the Mercenaries mode of both versions of Resident Evil 4 and the Mercenaries 3D reaffirms his status as an unstoppable force, taking on impossible odds with the same ruthless efficiency we've come to expect. While these appearances don't necessarily add to his character from a narrative standpoint, they do contribute significantly to his legend. Each time Hunk steps back into the fray, he solidifies his status as a fan favorite, captivating audiences not through deep characterization, but through his relentless professionalism and survival skills in even the most exacting and brutal situations. Following the fall of Umbrella in 2003, Hunk's legend only grew as he transformed from an unknown soldier into a renowned mercenary. His expertise in combat led him to develop the CQBC, or Close Quarters Quarantined Battle Zone fighting style, which was an evolution of standard CQB tactics specifically designed for biohazardous situations. His innovations didn't stop there. He also created specialized equipment and custom weapons like the Zombie Veil, Zombie Eisen, Zombie Jammer, and the Bite Guard, each crafted to enhance his lethality in such hostile environments. endurance. Interestingly, the techniques and tools Hunk developed seem to have influenced the combat methods used in Umbrella Corps, a spin-off game that showcases many of these same tactics. This connection not only highlights Hunk's lasting influence on Umbrella's legacy, but also reaffirms his status as a pivotal figure in the series, even though we haven't seen him canonically for quite some time. His legendary skills, the same ones that have allowed him to cheat death repeatedly, live on. Many fans still hope for his return, possibly in a standalone game dedicated to his exploits. But there's a paradox here. Would a deeper dive into Hunk's character, motivations, or past destroy the very mystique that makes him so appealing? By keeping him shrouded in mystery, Capcom has carefully avoided delving too deeply into his personal life, ensuring that said mystery remains intact. By keeping his backstory and motivations cryptic, the series allows him to evolve into something larger than just another soldier. He becomes a symbol, an avatar, a paragon of death, professionalism, survival, and the unknown. His legend is driven as much by what we don't know about him as by his ruthless effectiveness in combat. His mere mention or inclusion invokes a sense of dread and respect. This enduring legacy of being the one who always survives in the face of certain death reinforces the idea that Hunk has transcended the need for personal exploration. Heck, he might have even transcended humanity to become a specter, a shape, a phantom, a ghost, an empty, soulless entity that thrives in the heat of combat, that rebels when surrounded by death, with the only things driving him being the mission and a thirst for survival. The fact that we almost never see his face only reinforces this identity. Knowing more about him could risk undermining the enigmatic figure fans have come to revere. However, this enduring legacy, bolstered by the techniques he created, the influence he still holds, and his many close dances with death, keeps fans speculating, hoping for a return, while still cherishing the unknown that defines him. His mystique is his character. We don't need to know what he's thinking or feeling, because his role is to endure, to execute, and to remain an enigma. Ultimately, Hunk's role in Resident Evil is one that thrives on mystery. His longevity of secrecy, his potential for deep psychological complexity, his unrivaled professionalism, his exacting, ruthless precision in combat, and his seemingly mythical ability to never die, his apparent immortality, make him one of the most compelling and legendary figures in the series. Whether he's a man driven by duty, guilt, or something else entirely, the lack of clear answers only enhances his allure. His appearances throughout the series, from his origins in Resident Evil 2 to his enduring legacy in later games, serve only to solidify his status as Mr. Death. Unfeeling, undying, unstoppable, and utterly enigmatic. Hunk, immortal soldier, death incarnate, unstoppable fighting machine, relentless survivor, emotionless destroyer, last man standing, grim reaper, humanoid, undying, nameless killer. Thank you so very much for watching. Let me know how you feel about Hunk and why in the comments below. I'm especially interested in knowing if you want to see him get his own game someday. Also, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more Resident Evil. Plus, check out some more videos just like this one by clicking the links on screen and in the description below.